Hi, and welcome to LuLaBase. I'm David Wright. LuLaBase was developed specifically for LuLaRoe consultants to help track and manage inventory, expenses, contacts, and customer invoices. It is a powerful yet easy-to-use database program, much more helpful than a spreadsheet. It consists of 4 separate files that are interconnected but can be used separately as you wish. Here I have all 4 files open for purposes of the video, but in actual use you can open just the ones you want to work with. This series of short videos will cover the main features of the program, what it can do for you, and how to use it. It features the iOS for iPad version of the program because of the larger formatting used for that device's smaller screen, making it easier to see in the video. Mac OS X and Windows versions are nearly identical in features and function. This first screen is part of the inventory module that loads in the Mac OS X and Windows versions as the primary file. There is some important information here, so you will want to read through it before you start. When you first launch the program, you may want to select the Company Info tab. Here you can add a logo and basic contact information to identify your business. Then it will be displayed if you print out inventory lists or customer invoices, for example. The next tab takes us to the actual inventory file. Here we see the list view, where we can review some key pieces of information about our inventory. We can also sort inventory by items alphabetically or by date entered into inventory. We can review the list, print it, and even export the list. Typically, we would use comma-separated values, or CSV, for that. Notice that there is no corresponding import icon shown here because we are using the iOS version of the program. FileMaker Go on iOS devices does not support importing, as is mentioned in this popover. Incidentally, in Mac OS X and Windows versions, there are tooltips available instead of popovers in some cases. That's because iOS mobile touch devices do not recognize the hover feature. We can work with details of a particular inventory item by selecting its line item in the list. In this view, we can add a new record, delete the record being displayed, or modify its data. We can specify the type of product, the style, the size, how much it cost, and for reference, the minimum advertised price. Incidentally, for leggings, which you purchase as a 2-pack, you would enter 1/2 your wholesale cost, since you typically will sell and track them by the pair. Note that there are pre-populated choices, but the drop-down lists also are editable. So you can add to or modify the list if, for example, LuLaRoe introduces a new product. We can do a find operation to display just those items that match whatever criteria we specify. And we can do a quick find on a single field to see similar items. When you want to return to working with all of your inventory records, just click on Show All. Those are the pieces of information that are unique to this record. We will come back to the other fields in a moment. Now let's look at the right-hand side of the screen. Here's another popover with some helpful tips you can review anytime. Let's say you receive an order that has 2 or more items identical in type, style, and size. Chances are, though, they will be of different patterns. Using this tab tool and slider, you can import photos of up to 6 different patterns for items that are identical in type, style, and size. Beneath the image field is a small text box where you can record a brief description of the pattern to help you communicate by text. On the Notes tab, jot down any further text of interest. In the lower part of the screen, you can record transactions of this item into or out of your inventory. Specify a date of the transaction, any details you care about, and the quantity of this particular item you are moving into or out of inventory. You can delete a transaction with the trash can icon. Now let's go back over to the other fields. If you have set a reorder level for this item, which is a good practice, availability, units on hand, and the current cost you are carrying for that item are updated automatically whenever you make a transaction. And the last order field gives you an idea of how well this particular item is selling for you. That covers the main features of the inventory file. In the next video, we will cover the expenses file. The expenses module is very straightforward. Just as with our inventory list, on this screen we see a list of expenses that have been entered. Notice that everything above the list is very similar to the inventory screen. In fact, screens for all 4 files were developed to be as consistent as possible with respect to navigation, sorting, printing, export, etc. To switch to expense detail, click on a line item or choose New Record. Here again we have a tips popover with some helpful information you can review anytime. You can give an expense record a title for reference. That could be something like Startup Costs, First Quarter Materials Purchases, Office Supplies, Inventory Purchases, etc. The Purpose field lets you add additional information if you like. Start date and end date are populated automatically according to the first and last expense line items entered. This can be helpful if, for example, you wanted to do a find operation to see what expenses you incurred during a particular time period. Employee name lets you keep track of any expenses that, for example, your spouse or business partner may have incurred for your business. There are 2 types of expenses: actual purchases, the top right data set, and mileage on the bottom. To enter a new line item, either select Add Expense or just start typing on the first available line. For purchases, enter date of the expenditure. Then select the category, vendor, and form of payment. As with most drop-down selection lists in LuLaBase, these have some pre-populated choices specific to your business, but they are editable if you want to add or change any entries. Add the amount spent. And for convenient record keeping, you can even insert a picture of any corresponding receipt by selecting the paperclip icon. As before, use the trash can icon to delete any unwanted line item. Subtotal amounts for purchases are calculated automatically. Mileage expenses are handled much the same way. Date, any supporting detail you care to enter, mileage rate, for example the official IRS allowed rate, and miles driven. The amount is calculated accordingly. Subtotals are calculated automatically, as is the grand total for all expenses in this record. We've finished with expenses. In the final video, we will move on to contacts and invoices. As before, here we see the list view with entries currently in the database. You can sort by various fields. You can filter to show only one category of contacts. And you can print a list of contacts, either your complete list or just those meeting your find criteria. To switch to the detail screen, select a list item or select New Record. Once again, everything above the data entry part of the screen should look familiar. If you like, insert a picture of the individual. The field below it is filled in automatically with key information as you enter it into each field. The Notes field is for any additional information you want to capture. The rest of the fields are self-explanatory, except perhaps the Group field. With its drop-down list of selections, you can specify the nature of your relationship with the contact. One important note here, though. Even though Customer is one of the categories, that dataset does not tie to the Customer field in the Invoices file, which is the 4th and final file we will review in a moment. The reason is that the 4 files needed to be kept separate, since not all consultants may always want to use all 4 modules. Connecting customer contacts with invoiced customers would have made those LuLaBase files much more complex to use. Other than duplicate data entry, probably the fastest way is to do a simple copy and paste of data in matching fields in the two files. That takes care of contacts. Now let's look at the Invoices module. The first screen is a basic dashboard where you can enter your company name to be included in a screen capture or printout. It shows a list of invoices for the current month, along with status and dollar totals. The actual Invoices screen is much like the other list screens we have reviewed. Sort by company or date, filter by status. Now let's go to the Detail screen. By now, almost all these fields should be self-explanatory. In the LLR/other fee field, you would enter any amount that is deducted from your invoice to the customer. Typically, that would be LuLaRoe's fee or any other processing fee. Set Payment Status indicates whether and how your customer paid you for the order invoiced. That covers the main features of LuLaBase. I hope you enjoy using it and that it helps you be even more successful in your business. If you already purchased LuLaBase, thank you. If you have not yet, please download the free evaluation version for your operating system and explore it. All the latest information is on our website, including evaluation downloads, pricing, downloading, and installing. Thank you for watching, and happy selling.